last week when Jean-Claude Juncker, of the most powerful Nazi-supporting family, Prussian royalty, that's the German military state, formerly the Austrian-Hungarian Empire military state, the main aircraft producer for the Nazis in World War II, so war profiteer criminals, they captured Luxembourg during the war and never gave it up. You wonder where the Nazi money went? I mean, there's books written about the Junkers. I call them Junkers as an insult. And this creature came out and said to Donald Trump, we will break your country up. We will economically wage war on you, just like they did with Brexit. But you notice the UK said, oh, you already dropped bombs on us in 1941 or whatever. That didn't work. We're certainly not worried about trying to crash our economy. But the arrogance, and then after so I was trying to get Lord Monckton on last week. Since then, this is just breaking today, we have Spanish members of parliament, EU members of parliament. I have a stack of news here threatening war with the UK. This is insane. Now you have the Prime Minister saying, well, if they try to take the Rock of Gibraltar, that's been British control for hundreds of years, controlling the entrance to the Mediterranean, we'll go to war, just like the Falkland War. So now we have a Spanish gunship entering British waters off Gibraltar. This is unprecedented. So what is going on? Former top advisor to Margaret Thatcher, kind of the prototype guy helping, found UKIP that's now spread all over Europe. The chief scientist out there exposing all the climate change fraud. Of course, we have the lowest hurricane level ever recorded now this year. They just announced. We're not going to get into all that. Scienceandpublicpolicy.org. What's up with that.com. Lord Christopher Monckton. I won't go over all of that. And the media goes, don't call him a lord. They disbanded the House of Lords. It doesn't matter. That's his dad. That's him. He's a patriot. It's fun to say. I love how they play these semantical games. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with Lord Christopher Monckton, a super patriot. We see nationalism rising, globalism panicking. What are they going to do? That's my second question. Or what does he make of what's happening currently in the world? The left's alliance with radical Islam, just the state of the world with Lord Monckton, and what's happening with all these EU bureaucrats, unelected dictators, threatening economic war, physical war, EU armies threatening to march them in. I mean, I guess we didn't take that serious in 1939 either. What is going on? It's when a Nazi heir is threatening us.
Everything that the appalling Jean-Claude Juncker has said merely reinforces the reasons why it was so necessary for us in the United Kingdom to have nothing further to do with the dictatorial, fascistic, communist European Union, the tyranny by clerk, because that's what they really are. These people whose ambition vastly exceeds their competence have responded in a petulant, childish and arrogant way to what was on any view a thoughtful, considered and very friendly 6-page letter from our Prime Minister, Theresa May, notifying them on March the 29th that Britain would be, in 2 years' time, on March the 29th, 2019, quitting the European Union. Now, Theresa May deliberately went to great lengths to say how much Britain feels that it is part of Europe, because
and they even sent Prince Charles.
We have no quarrel with Europe. Our quarrel is with the dictators of the European Union, and the reason why we don't like the European Union is that the European Union is anti-European because it is anti-democratic. It was Europe that gave the world the name and the reality of democracy. It was the ancient Greeks who did that. And it is Europe now, in the shape of the European Union, that rejects democracy. And when this very civilized letter, on any view, a very civilized letter was sent by Theresa May, great thought had gone into it, a very responsible, very statesmanlike letter. What has happened since is enormous petulance on the part of the EU, and some bureaucrat thought they'd have some fun saying that if anything that in the negotiations affected Gibraltar, the government of Spain would have to be asked. Well, now here is how the law actually works. By the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713, Spain agreed that Gibraltar was British. That is the law. That is the international treaty. It hasn't been revoked. It hasn't been repealed. We are both bound by that just as much now as we were in 1713 when both parties signed it. So let us have no more nonsense from the EU bureaucrats about grabbing Gibraltar. And of course, quite rightly, several Conservative members of Parliament have got on their high horses and they've said, if the EU is going to threaten Gibraltar, we will take whatever steps, military or other, to defend the people of Gibraltar. As recently as 2004, that was the most recent of many occasions on which the people of Gibraltar have been asked by referendum, do they even want Spain to have a slightly increased share in the government of Gibraltar? And the answer was 99.7% no, they want to remain entirely, completely and splendidly British. So there's going to be no more nonsense about Gibraltar. We're not having that. What it does indicate is bad faith on the part of those in the European Union who, on the one hand, insist that we should comply with the letter as well as the spirit of the European treaties, while at the same time saying that they feel that they and Spain can get together for the sake of spiting and harming Gibraltar and spiting Britain, ignoring the Treaty of Utrecht, which is just as much a treaty and just as much binding and just as much current as the European treaties are. So that's that one. Let's have no more nonsense.
Well, let me correct you. Under law, Lord Monckton, international law, common law, European law, British law, isn't the fact that it's almost 300 years old make it even stronger by right of possession?
Well, of course, it isn't right of possession. It's
right of treaty and right of exercise and right of everything. I'm saying that when
that's right. I mean, you could say by long custom and practice, which
that's it. That's the right term. Long custom and practice. That's what I was looking for.
Absolutely. And of course, they would argue, on the other hand, just as Argentina tried to do with the Falklands, that territorial contiguity gives them some rights. In other words, their territory is closer to Gibraltar than British territory is. Well, that's not how it works, not in the post-colonial era. You see, Spain and Argentina are still living in the colonial era, where you can go round and help yourself to property.
So is Juncker, isn't he? So is Juncker.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. But you see, in the post-colonial era, what determines sovereignty above all else, above even treaties, is what's called the right of self-determination.
Isn't that 1776? That's America.
Well, that's exactly what you did, whether we liked it or not, in 1776. And as you know, Alex, I have a standing offer on behalf of Her Majesty's government, and I'm happy to convey it to you now, that if only you will in future remember to put your tea in the teapot rather than in the harbour, because it tastes better that way, we will remit all the taxes and imposts upon you, save only the original tax of £0.5 crown a pound on tea. And I think you'll find that a great bargain for the restoration of British government. Will be far cheaper, certainly, than the Obama administration was.
Probably a lot better, yeah.
You know, do feel free to return to the British Crown at any time you like. You will be welcomed with open arms. But more seriously, one of the things that I'm doing in June, on the 23rd and the 24th, in Bozeman, Montana, is we're going to hold a thing called the Red Pill Expo, and you can go to redpillexpo.org and make your booking to come to that conference, where we're going to be discussing all these issues that Brexit, and of course all the problems that Mr. Trump faces with unwilling bureaucrats and the Democrats rioting in the streets and so forth. We're going to be discussing all that at the Red Pill Expo. And if you go to redpillexpo.org, you can make your booking there, and I'd love to see you there, Alex.
I know I've been invited. I would love to. I'm launching a bunch of projects, but soon I'm going to come to some of the conferences you're at, Lord Monty, because I want to see you again in person, as we've done. Now, we're going to come back in the next segment, but we've got 30 seconds here, or 40 seconds. How is the New World Order doing right now? I mean, they say they're falling apart. Is that true?
There's no doubt that the people who think that nation states still have a future are in the ascendant at the moment. We won Brexit, and now we are going to leave the European Union, whatever the result of the negotiations. Mr. Trump, splendidly, whom I campaigned for in Montana during the election campaign, I'm thrilled that he's now the President of the United States. He's already unwound all the climate rubbish. He's gradually pushing back on that and many other so-called globalist agendas. And of course, they're not really global.
Well, let's talk about then the state of the fight for sovereignty. And we'll talk about the French election and so much more in one more segment with Lord Monckton of scienceandpublicpolicy.org. And we've got a bunch of other guests joining us with huge breaking news today as well. The revolution against globalist tyranny is exploding. Be part of it today. Share these links, share these videos, because the censorship is unparalleled. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You going to sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you going to be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.